All right, screencast, April 11th, first day in a while. So I guess since the break we had a screencast. I just wanted to put some emphasis on this PowerPoint for tomorrow. So just want to point to a couple things on a great site I just found. Just to remind you guys, I put this PowerPoint up, I'm up to 60 or 61 about New Deal limits. Something we kind of started talking about today with Father Coughlin and Huey Long as examples of individuals who felt it was going too far or not far enough, right, respectively. But check out the Father Coughlin one that I just put up a couple of moments ago. This is from the Reflections. Most of you guys asked about Father Coughlin and Huey Long. So this site is great. It actually there's too much going on here right now. But it you really want to read this, okay? It really answers a lot of the questions from reflection sheets today. And if you hit this link, I'm not going to do it now, but actually you hear Father Coughlin's sort of booming voice, and you can hear his criticisms. But if you read this, you kind of understand that at first he was a New Deal advocate, he was encouraging it, and then he started to discourage it, and he actually ended up not liking what he liked to begin with. So just really, make sure you check out this link, because it actually kind of makes him seem like a crazy person. So I'd like to hear your take on that too. But hopefully it makes reference to what you had questions about. And I just thought it was awesome. It really is a good thing to look at. The link I'm talking about that we'll address for a couple minutes right now is this link here. I'll show it to you in just a second, but if you just go to that link and check out, you can kind of go down the row here. You have the proposal FDR is making about the Supreme Court and the judicial branch, the cases that interact with it, speeches made, and there are a lot of speeches, guys. So of course, I don't intend people looking at all these things. That'd be ridiculous in one night. But I do want you to look at a few of them. So maybe you want to randomly pick 3 of them, 2 of them, whatever it might be. These are articles that are written in various periodicals about this court packing scheme that we'll check out a little more tomorrow. But you really want to be prepared, and having done this, again, taking a look at this. These are pretty cool. These are actually letters from Americans of all walks of life. They could be lawyers, they could be just random people, and they are either saying they're in favor of what FDR is trying to do to the Supreme Court or not in favor of it. So really check that out. And then finally, cartoons and some of the explanation for cartoons. It's really always compared to a sporting event in some kind or in some case. So really take a look at that. But let's just go to the PowerPoint for a moment, and then we'll kind of go back and forth to that. To the what am I trying to say? To the website. So FDR hits a wall with some of his programs, some of his New Deal programs. He has Congress on his side. We said that relationship really works well, especially in the first 100 days. But now years have gone by, and things have slowed down a little bit. A lot of it has to do with money and being able to pay for the programs. Right, as one example. I think some people were asking about why exactly things do slow down or why he loses popularity. Again, a lot of it has to do with that element of it, the economic element of it. But here you have on this site, so I actually threw in a couple things from the link I had showed you earlier. If you go to cases and then you go to voting record, I just printed the screen basically and actually took some of these things. And a lot of people think today, if you look at this, so in other words, votes voiding New Deal laws, New Deal legislation or acts of these programs we're talking about, a lot of people disagree with this stuff. We've said this, right? There's a lot of people who really don't like the New Deal. Father Coughlin is one of them. But some big business types really don't like it. I mean, these are people that really did well under the laissez-faire style, right, in the 20s. Now in the 30s, you see this kind of opposite, this counter-revolution, right, in and of itself. Revolution and counter-revolution if you compare it to the 20s. So here you see that with the pink, salmon, orange, whatever those colors, in some cases really are succeeding, right, in overturning some of this, in overturning some of these programs, some of these acts of no deal. But actually that slows down as far, as the further we go. So what FDR is attempting to do with the Judicial Procedures Reform Bill is actually change the composition of the Supreme Court. This has happened before, but it's been a really long time. I mean, this has been, no one in anybody's memory has any recollection of this being changed to this point. So understand that he is trying to drastically change it. His proposal, if we look at the site, just to kind of direct you in the right, put you in the right spot here, if you go back to the proposal, what he is proposing, right? So what he's saying is, we therefore earnestly recommend that the necessity of an increase in the number of judges be supplied by legislation providing for the appointment of additional judges in all federal courts, without exception, where there are incumbent again means those who are already seated there, already have a job as a judge, in other words, a justice, of retirement age who do not choose to retire or resign. Remember, Supreme Court, any Supreme Court justice, okay, could die in office, okay? They don't have to retire. No one's making them do that. What FDR is saying, if you're retirement age, or you just do not choose to resign, we want to add new judges that are younger age. And what he's attempting to do is, hopefully, is pack the court. That's why it's called the court packing scheme sometimes by its people that dissent or don't like the idea, right? Or dissent from this idea is what I'm trying to say. That people are going to be more friendly to New Deal programs. Now, a lot of people feel, if you go back to the data we were just looking at again, in fact it's right here, that actually he might not have needed to do this at all. Okay, he was getting what he wanted. In fact, as you go further and further, people, you know, they actually are. His programs are actually working, and he's actually not losing as much as he thinks. He is at this point, and maybe in his mind he already is thinking, well, I need to pack the court with people that are more friendly to me. I mean, first of all, this is something that's really going to, you know, hurt the feelings of many people. I just put it again; it's a little bigger here. But actually, if you look at this chart and just kind of go down the line, this is chronologically moving forward in time. It really doesn't look like he has the same issue going forward that he did then. So he's really created an activist court, whereas some people would have said that it was judicial supremacy, that they actually were overriding things. Now, in these years, that might be the case. Some of these court cases, Supreme Court cases that actually went that far, that might have been the case. But actually, it's sort of on FDR's side, if you look at it this way. So, not that he wasn't paying attention, but maybe he was just trying to cut off something that in the future he feared, was concerned might happen. So this will articulate some of the feelings of the people, of the actual people. This is the Western Union Telegram. You just look at the first couple lines. I'm not really asking you to read all these different things, but Honorable Franklin D. Roosevelt, by the White House, this is a telegram on the White House. Stick to your guns, the humble and the weak and the young and the individually unimportant who voted for you in November. This guy's obviously has some hard feelings here, but he is speaking of, right, to save the country from the stranglehold of judicial supremacy. All right, so this is somebody who's in favor of Roosevelt changing the composition of the court. But if you look at some of these other ones, this person also agrees. I quite agree with you. Something needs to be done. Right? I hope something can be done to improve the courts. You know, and this person is actually saying not just with the Supreme Court, but with the lower courts as well. And I thought I put something in here. Okay, so here you go. So this person's saying the opposite, right? Your chat last night, and FDR was very famous for his fireside chats, had the dangerous ring of speech of a demagogue. A demagogue is someone who's either not listening to the people or listening to the people too much, or just popular, what seems popular, and just kind of will do whatever they say. You are leading the poor, ignorant people into the errors worse than those which we are trying to escape. So this person is very upset about the court packing proposal. And if you keep going, right, in reference to the proposal to revitalize the Supreme Court, I want to say it, you will briefly but firmly and with sincere convictions that I have no ulterior motive than my opposition, but the preservation of our liberties. Please tell this to Mrs. Roosevelt so that she will not report to me to the press as being in that group. So this person actually was probably someone from the press saying this. This person goes on to say, at the end, you received no mandate from me last November to do anything of the sort. I remind you that the members of Congress and yourself are but our agents, right? You know, this is a representative of the Republic, and the idea is that, you know, they were elected in to do a certain job. So this is, you know, basically a depiction in political cartoons, political cartoon perspective of what we just were talking about. Is FDR as the sort of the coach here, this team telling the Supreme Court, I don't like your decisions, I don't necessarily want to get rid of you, but I want to get some new guys and I want to add more players to the team when really that shouldn't happen. So he wants to add more justices, I believe to the extent that there would be 15 Supreme Court justices instead of the 9 that we traditionally have seen to this point. And, you know, he's basically trying to muscle out the other elements of this. So again, you'll have to look through the rest of this PowerPoint, but you know the court packing scheme can become a little bit confusing for students. So over the years, so I think it'd be a good idea for you just to check out at least these on here. But remember, the link is, I mean, this is like gold. I was telling you the other day, I haven't seen this link before, but the link I was showing the other day about the 3 R's is just really important. Because I've used it so many times, it's just an easy way to understand those 3 R's. But this one could become the new thing for what am I trying to say? For the court backing scheme. All right. But I wanted to show you just one last thing. The article here, the New York Herald Tribune. Right, it was a French king, Louis XIV, who said, "I am the state." Right. The paper shell of American constitutionalism will continue. If President Roosevelt secured the passage of the law he now demands, but it would only be a shell. So. They're basically saying Roosevelt is very dangerous here. This is because he's really trying to change the composition of the courts, our government, our constitution to a point that it would be it would just go too far. Okay. I don't know that I went to cases, but I jumped right to the voting record. But if you actually look, these are all the cases that are in that voting record with the majority and minority opinion for each one. So you can kind of get some ideas for, first of all, what the programs were doing and the issues, the perspectives of these justices as the way they sort of thought of these things. And again, if you kind of link it up with the voting record, you can get a lot there. So please check this out, guys, because it really is quite important. All right? I'll see you guys tomorrow.